confirm. Okay, I think we are live.
Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear us. It's a slightly weird situation because I can't hear or see any of you, but I understand that there's about 40 of you out there so far and more joining as we go through this. So I'm Sue Story, Chief Executive of Volleyball England, and I'll let my colleagues who are on the panel this evening with us to introduce themselves. Rob, do you want to go?
Yep, so I'm Rob Payne. I'm the Core Market Coordinator, supporting membership with my role.
Stuart?
So I'm Stuart Thorpe. I'm the Content and Communications Coordinator. I joined in January. I sort of oversee all the news and announcements on the websites, as well as media activity and the voice of Volleyball England on social media.
Thank you. Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam Jameson. I'm the Deputy Chief Exec.
Thank you. And James?
Hi, I'm James Murphy. I'm the Competitions Working Group Lead.
Perfect. Thank you very much. So first and foremost, I hope everybody is safe and well out there, and that you're all coping with the self-isolation, the lockdown, and then still being able to keep fit and healthy. Sending you all our best wishes from Volleyball England. We wanted to do this webinar this evening. And I must say, first of all, that this is a new platform for us and we've not done one of these before. So I hope it works okay, and please do bear with us if we have any technical glitches as we're trying to go through this evening. But what we wanted to do is take the opportunity to bring together the volleyball community. And primarily it's about trying to understand what the challenges are that you're facing at the moment. We have got a few things we want to talk about, but really it's more about us hearing your issues, your concerns, your ideas, your thoughts, either that will help us to understand and report back to Sport England and to government what the challenges are, or for you to be able to help each other. And I'm hoping that this opportunity to share some good practice will be really useful. I think, as I say, we've never done it before, but we will do our best. And if it works okay and you've all found it useful, then we'll certainly do some more of these if they work well. So I'll hand you over to Rob Payne now, who's going to talk you through the next part of the webinar.
Thanks, Sue. So I'll just take you through a PowerPoint that we've created, hopefully that'll help to address quite a few of the questions that have come in through Padlet, but also questions that we've been asked. So in terms of the protocol of the webinar, obviously it's important that we have a few different rules because there are quite a volume of people. So starting from the left, your microphones, as you probably already realised, they will be muted and have been muted, and that just allows the flow of the webinar to come through a bit easier. And then also the webcams, I think, already have been turned off automatically, which will just help the stream as well. In terms of your feedback into the webinar itself, there's two different ways which you can feed questions and thoughts and suggestions to us. One of which is on your Teams panel that you have at the moment. So on the right hand side, there's a live Q&A option. And in there you can click on the bottom button at the bottom and ask a question to us. And throughout the webinar, we're going to aim to answer as many questions as we can. And the aim is that if we can't answer those questions, we can take those away and come back to you at a later date to help to address any challenges or things that really you need us to help you with. The other option is through Padlet, and hopefully some of you have seen that through the pre-webinar information. There's a URL which I've shared on the Q&A, so that panel on the right hand side of your webinar page. And that URL will take you to Padlet, and in there's a series of different questions which range from pain points that you're facing as a club, and they go through to things like what successes have you had that others could learn from? Are there any particular questions that you've got for us at Volleyball England? And really just for you to be able to voice your thoughts and opinions. One other thing just to note is that there is a 20-second lag from us speaking to you hearing it, which hopefully wouldn't affect too much, but that's just something to note. So in terms of what we would like to achieve from this webinar, and what we hope that you'll be able to achieve from it as well, in terms of you guys as clubs and members, first of all, for you to share your pain points through Padlet. So what are the things that have hit you hard through this period of time? Are there things that really do concern you that we as Volleyball England can support you with? It's really useful for you to be able to share your thoughts and opinions in those areas. And then likewise, your successes, what's worked really well. It's really great as a network of clubs, and it's something that we're trying to encourage, is the sharing of that knowledge and best practice, which we want to, through Stuart, help to share those communications and make everybody more knowledgeable and aware of what can be done. And then finally, just feel free to ask us questions. In between the slides, we're going to try and answer questions as we go, and do our best to try and address things here tonight. But if we can't, as we said, we'll take them back and try and answer them at a later date. In terms of what we're going to do in this webinar, obviously we're going to try and answer your questions, but then also try and share some knowledge on the sector. So Sport England have given us a briefing on how they're supporting sports clubs, and there's some really good support and advice that's already coming out, and Sport England are very directional. They've basically down tools and really focused on how coronavirus affects clubs and the sporting sector. So lots will be coming out in that area. We're also going to reinforce the services that you can all access as members of Volleyball England. And I think it's important that we highlight those things, because there are some great opportunities and things that we can do for you to support you in being the best you can to develop volleyball and offer what you already do. So, is there any questions that are worth fielding now, Stuart, or should we move on to funding?
It's probably best just after the funding section.
Okay.
Some of that might tie into that, but I can ask them afterwards. Okay.
Right, so in terms of funding, basically what I've put together is a suite of different options and avenues that you can look to explore. As I mentioned, on the top left-hand side, you've got Sport England, and Sport England have released a statement on their website, and I'm sure that a few of you will be aware of their small grant scheme, where you can apply up from £300 up to £10,000 to support clubs, and they're looking at realigning that scheme towards supporting clubs that have lost income through coronavirus. And they did that something similar through the club flood relief when we had the floods over the winter, and that worked really well. So Sport England are looking to realign their funding into this section. And as you can probably imagine, for volleyball clubs, it probably doesn't hit them quite as hard as other clubs like your cricket clubs that own assets, and they're not going to generate income, and they've got rent and mortgage to pay and so on their facilities. So for them, it's potentially a lot more impactful, but that's not to say that it's also impactful for volleyball clubs as well, and we want to do our best to support you through those things. On the bottom left, you've got a company called Simpspa. They're actually next door to us in the office in Loughborough, and Simpspa support sort of the workforce that are out there in sport and physical activity. And for the coaches out there that are working and looking to generate income through the role of coaching, Simpspa realised that there will be a lot of lost income through the coronavirus, because obviously sport halts and people can't be in contact with each other. So they've got a survey out, which we'll share the link for, and they're really working hard to advocate support for that workforce of professional coaches and staff. And then we've got a few other ideas for you. We found through Just Giving, there are sports clubs out there like Edinburgh City Football Club, for example, and loads of other sports clubs that are using Just Giving pages to try and generate income. So where they might have lost funding through facility commitments and no membership income, they've used Just Giving as a way that they can engage their community and help get their community to support them as a club to sustain themselves. So that could be a good option, and it's worked in different sports quite well. On the bottom right, another thought and an example that Sport England gave to us was that quite a lot of clubs are asking their members to continue paying their fees, and whilst members might not be in a position to do so, the members that are in a position, it could be a good way to kind of pull on that those strings of us all being together as one, and try and use that as a method to encourage members to keep paying into the club. It could be over a smaller rate, and you might have a business plan in place that has reduced costs, and therefore you might ask for a smaller amount, but hopefully the members are big advocates of you as a club and are able to support. And then finally, I'm sure that you've all heard from the government around the small business grants that are coming into play, and that's something also to explore as well, and could be a different avenue for the more professionalised clubs that are businesses and operating with high turnovers.
So Rob, I think that was two questions that were posed on Padlet. So there's one around asking, how to get members to carry on paying their fees now the league has ended, and I guess tying into what you're saying, and just that honesty, and appealing to them, having that frank conversation. There was another question that was mentioned about the lack of cash, lack of income. I guess what you talked about there, some of the club funding that sort of ties into that. But there's another one that sort of got put on here around facilities, and if you're tied to contracts potentially to the end of April or May or such, any advice on trying to break free from the contract?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously something which, on a person by person basis, it could be the right thing to do, and obviously it depends on what the contract says and stipulates. Obviously, as part of all this as well, we would encourage that you don't try and break ties with your facilities, because they're key to how you operate going forwards and the long-term sustainability of the club. It's important that you have a good relationship with your facility providers. The Sport England are working closely with big chains as well of facility providers to see how we can work through this, because, like I mentioned earlier, it's not unique to volleyball, it's across all sports, and those small grants schemes will link quite closely to lost income. So I think you'd have quite a strong case if you continued to be charged for facilities and you couldn't do anything about it. Okay, is there any more questions come in around funding? Stuart?
No, I can see at the moment. I'm obviously not to tackle at the end, but no, I'll let you continue.
Okay, super.
Rob, just to make an announcement here, we've got a few points on the live event question and answer bit that people are asking if the slides are available. Yes, they will be available. The session is recorded. All the links we'll be able to send out. We'll be able to post that on our website as well, so you will be able to get all this information after.
Yeah, certainly. So in terms of Volleyball England's offer to affiliated clubs and how we aim to support affiliated clubs, there's a few sort of key avenues linked to the situation we're in at the moment. Firstly, around club development and the consultations that we can have with clubs, and that's one of the areas that we feel could be really beneficial as part of the membership package. And within those consultations, you've got things like development planning. So what is your plan over the next 6, 9, 12 months, and how can we support you to put a proper development plan in place? Business planning, so how does your cash flow affect your planning going forwards, and how can we support you with either through funding or through realigning your membership, or coming up with different opportunities for people to pay into the club, and membership options. That's a different avenue you could also look at. And then finally, around the club governance, and how are you constituted as a club, and what sort of documentation do you have to strengthen yourselves and make yourselves in a good position as a club. In terms of club governance, Sport England have also spoken to us about doing virtual AGMs, and obviously in light of the fact that people need to be at home, they are going to be releasing some guidance to sports clubs and governing bodies around virtual meetings and AGMs. So that's something that we will share as we get past that information across. The funding, as we mentioned, we do have a funding guide which is unique for members, and there is a process in place where Vicky, who leads on funding, will take you through a sort of procedure for working out which sorts of funding streams you need to or could access, and whether that be a localized funding stream where there's lots of pots of money out there, or whether it's your national schemes around from Sport England or other sort of partners like that. So if you are interested in accessing some support from us, then fundingsupport@volleyballengland.org is the email address. As Sue mentioned, we'll be sharing that afterwards to everybody, and this will be recorded as well. And then finally, I thought it was worth highlighting the insurance and the cover that you can access as part of the insurance itself. Sadly, due to the circumstances of coronavirus, the insurance doesn't cover events such as this. So loss of income can't be insured against through our policies. It only covers the sort of liability for your club committee and members, and then public liability as well. So sadly, it doesn't cover that area, but we saw some questions come up, so we thought we'd answer that here and now. Anything else, Stu?
Not at this stage. There's plenty to tackle, but with at the end of the presentation, nothing quite related here.
Okay, super. Right, so on to James, who's going to talk to us about competitions.
Yeah, so a lot of questions coming in about what's the process we're going to do to finalise the league and cup and other competitions. So right now we're in the research phase. We're exploring how other sports are making those decisions, and we're obviously asked on the Padlet if you've got any suggestions about successful methods. The decision-making process obviously will be fair and transparent, and our intent is to make sure we apply the same process across all of our leagues. At the moment, we're working to make the decision by the end of April. That's our intention at the moment. Obviously, if we run into any problems, that might be extended, but that's not our intention. We want to get it closed out if we can by the end of April. There's been some questions about changes to the league structure, and we're very aware of that request. We've been working on it for a few months now, in fact, over 6 months. And if anybody would like to be part of that solution, then if you can drop an email to competitions@volleyballengland.org, we would welcome anybody participating in that. In terms of how this applies to regional local leagues, we would not mandate any solution to them, but obviously we'll be very transparent in what and why we've chosen the method we have. So if people want to apply that to regional local leagues, then that is obviously an option for any teams that wanted to do that.
Super. Is there anything else that sort of questions that fall outside of those different headings, Stu, that are worth James addressing?
There's one more, James. It's not that specifically at James, but I think it's sort of the $1 million question of when will we start playing volleyball again, which I think is it's difficult to know at the moment. But I'll leave it to you, Sue, or James.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer to that is when the government allow it. We really don't know when that's going to be allowed, and I think it ties into a couple of other questions that people are saying. So government advice is clear. They still want people to take exercise, and I think that's an important thing to do. Stuart, you've done your lovely dig in the garden. I think that's a classic example of things that people can do. There are a lot of resources out there for suggested activities that people can do. Self training stuff, including lots of volleyball drills out there. So definitely keep those things going. Try and keep yourself as fit as you can through this process, so that as and when the government allow us to start playing again, we will be able to do that. Right now, we don't know when that is. It could be September, but who knows?
Just to add to that, Sport England are they've already started a campaign called Stay In Workout. If you search for the hashtag Stay In Workout, you should find some interesting stuff on that. But from tomorrow, they're launching a new campaign, which is really ramping up that Stay In Workout. So they've done a deal with quite a few of the sort of more famous sports fitness providers. So I think somebody's mentioned Joe Wicks already. So Les Mills, Davina, and one or two others have done some sort of deal where you can get extended trial periods to do their exercises at home. So I think, as James said, there's plenty of information about volleyball drills, and if any clubs are doing anything themselves, their coaches, we're trying to do some work with the England coaches to have a look at what drills we can put out there. If anybody's doing anything, please let us know, and we'll share it, because that's the best way we can try and all keep fit and all keep doing things. But yeah, please do have a go at #digging in the garden, because it's been great fun, and it's been really good to see the community coming together to have a go at that, and to do some really creative stuff about having a go at volleyball in your gardens, or over your washing line, or your dryers, or whatever it might be. So brilliant stuff, keep it up.
And I think that moves quite nicely into the next section, really, which is, I believe, so on communication. So I'll just give a bit of an overview as well, what we're doing here and what our priorities and what we're looking at. So our activity really is split into 3 key areas. This first one here, you've hopefully seen a lot of on social media. It's trying to really rally people together to give us all a bit of a distraction, and with that as well, try and keep us active. I know there's been a few comments on that have come through, and we're really trying our best. I even uploaded an embarrassing 10-second video of myself yesterday doing a workout, because Greenhouse Sports Volleyball have done a fantastic little daily program for youngsters. We've not done any promotion on it yet, but there is an article on our website about keeping fit at home. And in that, there's some fantastic resources from the art of coaching volleyball. But we can share those as well afterwards if you'd like, sort of direct access. But if not, you can jump onto the website and grab them. So yeah, it's all about rallying the community and keeping us all active. And the Digging in the Garden campaign has played quite a big part in that so far. We've put quite a bit of work into that. We're marching on to 20,000 video views in total for everyone that's sent videos in. So thank you if that includes yourself. And I was delighted this morning to see that the CEV have put a small little news piece on their website about the campaign, just saying about how everyone's getting involved and how they're turning their focuses too. So the second part of the communications at the moment is sharing best practice, and that really starts today, to be honest. Although we're doing little bits before this, the first major bit of work is this webinar. As already we mentioned, this will be available afterwards, and we'll be compiling this into an article for the website, so you can go to that, and we can add to that as well later on. And then the third part, and this is always a part of the role of communications, is keeping you all informed as every decision is made, and all manner of decisions, from us working from home and potential impact that has on you guys, and the fact you need to know all our contact details, or these frequently asked questions that we're putting together on the website. So yeah, that's kind of the key focus and the key strands. And please, particularly on the first one, do engage with us on all of them. Please do engage with us. Yeah, I think that about covers it all there on that. It was nice to see whether on Padlet there was a nice comment sort of about communications, and I think someone has said how they'd sort of shifted their activity from that competitions and training focus, obviously, and looking more about checking in on their members and making sure they're okay, and sort of what I've mentioned a bit about sort of rallying them together and trying to give them a bit of support. So that was quite nice to see. If that person is in here as well, it'd be quite nice if you're able to drop me a message. We can sort of find out some more about what you've done, and if we can share that a little bit more widely.
Stuart, we've got a question that's come in from a newly formed club, and they've asked how can they promote their club during this time. Is there anything that you can suggest?
I appreciate that. Now more than ever is probably a very difficult time with activity so low, but there's some really good examples of well, for me, I've seen it as great for the club's engagement with us, and we've been able to retweet that and share that with a far wider audience. So the people that are encouraging their members to do these home workouts, encourage them to do these videos, and just keeping in touch with them. More than anything, the more you can do on that, the better, I think, just to make sure that you're not losing contact with those members.
There's been another question that's come in from somebody that's asked about a home training program that juniors can try and complete. something about being informal but structured and sort of ticks boxes that when they complete the drill or task. And somebody has shared some information about a volley science resource through their Facebook page. So I think that would be a really good place to start looking, is through volley science. And I know that Gary does a lot of really good work in those areas. So that could be an avenue to look down. Yeah,
no, certainly I'll take a look at that afterwards and add it to this article. So we've not done much promotion on it yet. We've been busy with various other bits of the webinar and such, but it's on the website at the moment, on the homepage, and it's about keeping active at home, and it's some tailored volleyball specific workouts as well. So it's I can't remember the top of my head, but it's things like the digging in the garden. There's practicing your blocking. Two great videos from the art of coaching. I think there's got about half a dozen videos that are free to access at the moment. I think it's Greenhouse. They're doing daily videos of training sessions for youngsters, but trust me, it exhausted me on my lunch break. So I'm sure it'd be appropriate for anyone. And there's plenty more of the sort of resources in there about setting up a home gym with bags of flour and carrier bags, as well as just some guidance from Sport England about what you can do, if you want to go out for a walk, the up-to-date guidance. So yeah, it's a good resource on our website. We'll be adding to it, and we will be promoting it in the next few days or so.
Sam, in the absence of Gillian being here, there's been a question around from the England juniors about, will Volleyball England seek to enter other competitions for the England junior squads once the crisis is over, following the cancellation of the Cornacchia Cup? Is there anything that you can respond to on that question?
Yeah, I think the only thing that we can say at the moment is it's absolutely our intention that the squads will play again. Obviously, we're disappointed, as the squads are and everyone involved, that the events that were due to take place have been cancelled. We don't yet know to what extent those cancellations will take effect through the summer and as we come into the new season. But as James mentioned earlier, we'll follow government guidance, and we'll put the safety of our athletes and staff first. But of course, yeah, we want them to compete again as soon as it's safe to do so.
I just wanted to pick up, go back on that home training and workout front. I saw there's a question about without, if you haven't got a volleyball at home. I appreciate a lot of people don't, and we're not all fortunate to have one sort of lying around the house. And there are some of those available on the website. And I just wanted to pick up on another comment that was on Padlet about the sitting volleyball workouts or training sessions. And someone said they'd recorded some videos and they've gone down really well. It's not something I picked up on yet, but please do get in touch with me, because that's perfect. That'd be sort of great resource to share with everyone else as well.
We've also had quite a few questions from people around doing remote level 1 and grade 4 referee courses, and making that a little bit more online rather than face to face. And due to the volume of courses that we run, it's quite hard for people to access courses due to distances, especially if they're in a remote location. So that is something which we recognise, and SIMSPA are working with us at the moment to look at different avenues for our coach education programme, and things are definitely going in that direction. So that's something which we don't have a solution for at the moment, but it's definitely the way that education is going for workforce development. So hopefully over the next few months we'll have more to say and be able to release in that area. Okay, is there any other questions that particularly people may have? It might be worth, if people have more questions as we are talking, if you put them in the chat, then hopefully we'll be able to pick those up.
There's one in there about, are there drills for juniors without volleyballs, as not every kid who recently started will have one? And the answer to that is absolutely. A number of the drills in there are work without volleyballs. Obviously it's better to have one, but a lot of the drills still work.
We've also got quite a testy question for Sue. Can we have an open and transparent state of the nation view from Sue? What are the forecasted impacts of this crisis on volleyball going forward? Financial from members and Sport England, participation numbers, how to relaunch the sport as sports will when green light is given. Sorry to give you a challenging question like that, Sue.
No, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So in terms of the financial situation, as you would expect, Sport England have been asking questions and discussing with us already as to how they can support NGBs in this difficult time. We've already done some financial modelling that looks at where we would be if this carries on for sort of 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, etc. And you know, we're in a better position than some sports, but it's certainly not a perfect position. We will lose quite a lot of money by not, by not being able to deliver the courses and all the activities that we deliver. What we've done internally is we put a sort of freeze on any new recruitment. We've got a couple of posts that we're going to be going out to recruitment. We've frozen those for the time being, and we'll have to simply manage without them. But you know, hopefully we should be able to survive this. If it goes on much longer, if it gets to the autumn, I think, you know, it's going to be a very difficult situation then for everybody. But certainly for a few months, we should be okay. In terms of participation, the discussions again we've had with Sport England have been around their view on our achieving the key performance indicators that they've given us in various aspects of what we do. A lot of those are being relaxed, as you can understand. It's an extremely difficult time. The club's already mentioned, how do you promote a new club? How do we promote participation is a real challenge for us. So I think Sport England are relaxing the pressure they're putting on us, which is good. But we don't want to sit back. I mean, you know, we've been talking internally a lot about how can we take this opportunity to be the absolute best we can be to our community. How can we do things during this time to try and give us, so we can provide a better service to you as our membership and to all the clubs. What can we do during this time? And you know, lots of things. We're doing some cleansing work on VolleyZone. We're doing some cleansing of the website. We're trying to pick up those sorts of activities which will make things a bit easier and a bit better for you guys in the long run. But we're also open to ideas. If anyone has got any suggestions of things that we can be doing, we'd be happy to hear that. The other part of that was how to relaunch. I've seen questions in there around when do you start booking things again? Very difficult questions. We've talked a little bit already about how we transition back to what will be the new way of working, because after this period of everyone home working, I'm quite sure things won't be exactly the same again. I think we need to think about how we all transition back to being to working and to playing volleyball and to training and so on. One of the reasons that we made the decision to cancel the interregionals is that nobody will have trained. Even if it was able to go ahead, nobody would have been able to train, and the risk then to our community of injuries starts to increase, and we want to protect people from that. Apart from the fact, of course, it's still highly unlikely that we'd be able to go for that sort of event as early as then. So how do we relaunch? Very difficult question. Really interested in hearing any views from out there in the community as to how we do that. But certainly we are ambitious. We want to try and make volleyball the best sport and the biggest sport in the country. A long way to go yet, but certainly we've got to have that ambition. So hopefully we can all work together to get there. And
in this downtime period, we have quite a few plans for sort of the weeks and months ahead, and we've got to develop these further. But please do engage with us, or if you have your own ideas, please do reach out. We're trying to do as much as possible to rally the community and keep it active. But I'm sure you guys have got ideas as well, and I picked up a few already from the chat. So thank you. Just on that communications front, someone touched on improving communication between association and clubs and regions. And I'm conscious that coming into this role, that I've picked up a few comments about that we maybe weren't as best. We could certainly improve our communications, and I've tried to keep in really close communication with those regional chairs. But it can always be improved, I know, and we're trying to do as much as we can. But if you have any ideas, please do get in touch.
There's been a suggestion from Dave Gunter around using the national cups and interregionals to be a back to volleyball focus event. So I guess there are some suggestions out there around different methods for us to launch volleyball back again once the time comes. And I guess these are sorts of things where having suggestions like this are good for us to then explore and see what the best methods are. We have got a stream of questions that are coming in. What about the challenge of getting a new safeguarding officer in place for next season, e.g. timeline and procedure? Well, safeguarding, recruiting somebody into a role such as the safeguarding officer shouldn't really be affected by this time. Obviously, the challenge at the moment is around accessing courses. However, the Child Protection in Sport unit are looking at an online solution for courses and actually relaxing slightly that training mandate of it being face-to-face. So that could be a method going forwards to recruit somebody new into a safeguarding officer role. And if you've got any questions about safeguarding, then feel free to get in touch with me through safeguarding@volleyballengland.org.
James, this might be a good opportunity just to pick back up on what we talked about earlier on in terms of the competitions. I think there's a few questions that have come in and you missed the start of the presentation. There's a couple, one saying, is anything been decided yet about the promotion relegation of the NVL leagues? And then someone else talking about feedback and any recommendations for ending, postponing or resolving the leagues.
Yeah, so just to repeat what we said earlier, so we're in the investigation stage at the moment. We are looking at the various options that there are for doing it. We have had some suggestions in from clubs. There's some more suggestions come in on Padlet. We're consulting with the other sporting governing bodies. We're listening to what Bucks are doing. And once we've done that, we'll come up with a proposal to resolve the leagues at the end of that. And we're planning to do that by the end of April.
So there's one I just picked up on here that I'll push you, I think came through a few minutes ago, about fixing issues on the website. If there are any specific problems on specific pages, please do get in touch and we can update that. But I think they might be talking about the club finder potentially. I know that's quite a high profile feature on the website, and that's to do with, it says on ongoing issues to do with the data migration. Is that right, Rob?
Yep, and it's also the integration of the new membership management system and the website, so that we can see the players, coaches, and referees on the website as well.
We've had something in from Ashley Cullen regarding the scheduling and participation of outdoor tournaments. Any guidance that we can offer other than government advice? Anybody that wants to answer that?
Unfortunately, Ashley, I think the answer is no, only to follow government advice. We can only feel your frustration. It's incredibly difficult. You can't get insurance for this now, as it's a known risk. It's, you know, you have to take a judgment on what you want to do, how much you want to invest in terms of time and effort and doing something. Hopefully it will go ahead. But nobody can say at this point. We're too early in the cycle to know when and if the restrictions are going to be relaxed. You know, if you look at China and Wuhan, they're starting to slowly relax some of those things, but then the numbers have started to come back up. If you look at Italy, they're still very much in lockdown. So it's too early to even guess what's going to happen later in the year. Sorry.
Okay, I think we've got through the majority of the questions, unless anybody else can see any other ones that have come through.
There was one on Padlet about someone having a number of volleyballs in their garage, some old volleyballs, and they were wondering about if they could pass them on to other people. Difficult to know the exact guidance, I guess, for that. Unless you guys had any thoughts other than...
Yeah, so I'll do my best. I mean, one of the things that we haven't been able to get any definitive answer, and it's not on the top of anybody's list to do, is how do we know that we're not passing on virus on volleyballs? We've looked at and published information that we got on how to generically clean volleyballs, but nobody's done any scientific research to prove whether viruses can be passed in the pores of volleyballs or not. So yeah, we can't give you definitive advice one way or the other. Having said that, you know, there's a lot of evidence that says that the virus doesn't last a long time in daylight. So, you know, everybody has to take their own advice on this and their own risks. If it was me, I would be sitting there and saying, in fact, I have some volleyballs in the garage as well. They've sat out in the sun for the last couple of days, and I'll be passing them on to people who want a volleyball. So, you know, that's what I'm doing, but everybody needs to take their own best guess on whether that's a safe thing to do or not.
Okay, so in terms of next steps, we're obviously happy to continue to answer questions, but it seems like most of them have kind of either repeat things that we've already gone through or stopped coming through. So in terms of next steps, any questions that we weren't able to answer, and I think predominantly the bit around the competitions going forwards, we've given you some timescales, but we haven't come up with the solution for things at the moment. But we will be in continual dialogue with you around that. The webinar, as Sue mentioned, will be recorded and shared, and so will the questions. The Padlet also is something which you can view at any time. So if there's some good practice examples that you've seen, you can revisit that whenever you like through the link. And then also any other learnings from best practice that have come through today. Stuart's going to be writing an article around these best practice examples, and we'll look to share that through our website and social media, so there'll be some more learnings out there for people. And I guess finally really is around the potential for further webinars, and hopefully you guys found this useful today, and we've got a list of people that have attended, so we can send out some comms to see whether it's something which people would like to revisit and go with another state of play down the line when things potentially might change again, or whether we look at another specific area that might be useful to you. Is there anything else to add from Sam, Sue, Stuart, James?
No, just from my point of view, it's been great to see the comments that are coming in, and delighted that so many people have tuned into this. We really do want to try and keep the community going. We want everybody who's already playing volleyball to decide after this has gone that volleyball is still the best activity and they want to continue with it. So you know, whatever we can do to try and support you and support your clubs, we want to do what we can. And if the best thing we can do is sharing good practice, then that's exactly what we're going to be doing and spending our time doing. So please do keep talking to us. Keep sharing stuff on social media. Our social media outlets have been really, really busy, and that's fantastic. So please do join in the conversations on those platforms, and we'll keep them going.
Yeah, I'll second that. I say we're putting together something on the website, wrapping up a lot of this advice and other best practice that we've picked up on. And aside from that, just keep digging in your garden.
That's a perfect way to finish, Stuart. Thank you very much.
Like I planned
everybody to go off and start digging in the garden now. Well, thanks very much to James, Rob, Stuart, Sam for joining the panel this evening, and thank you to everybody who's posted your questions. I really hope you found it useful, and we'll look forward to seeing you all on a volleyball court very, very, very soon. Take care of yourself and stay safe.